It is Wednesday, January 4th, and here is your update on Moscow, Idaho, and Bryan Kohberger. To start this off, Bryan Kohberger is back in Idaho, and actually, let's throw his mugshot up. This mugshot and the intake form can also be found on my Instagram. There's been a lot of rumors about how Bryan was in jail in Pennsylvania, so here's what we know. He was in a suicide schmuck for about 5 days, which basically nothing else with it, no t-shirt, no underwear, nothing. His cell in Pennsylvania was all glass, so he could be observed 24/7. He was not allowed any pens, paper, reading material. He was not loud, not mean. He didn't cry. They said actually that he was a model inmate. So anything that you've heard about him being inappropriate, exposing himself, none of that is true. Now, there was an inmate there who did do all of that, but it wasn't Bryan. And there was also another inmate that, when he came in, yelled at Bryan, flipped him off, and said that he was going to unalive him. Now, while Bryan was there, he did say some things. He was asked, "Why did you do it?" And he responded with, "I didn't do anything." And then they asked him as a follow-up question, why did he go to Idaho? And he said, "The shopping is better in Idaho." That could have been his attempt at a joke, or it could legit be better shopping in Idaho. I don't know. And some new information on the night of his arrest, there was actually a drone that circled around his parents' home in the Poconos for about 2 hours. It's suspected that it was just observing, making sure that everything was cool before the tactical team went in. There's also been some information that's come out that the 2 traffic stops in Indiana were done because it was directed by the FBI. Now, with that said, the only news source that I can see reporting that it was directed by the FBI is Fox. I usually like to get at least 2 news sources, so take that how you want to. So Bryan started his trek this morning back to Idaho a little bit after 6 a.m., and it took him 10 hours. They stopped twice to refuel, once in Illinois, once in South Dakota, and he arrived back at the jail in Idaho at about 9:20 p.m. The plane itself was a single-engine prop plane that was actually owned and operated by Pennsylvania police. So the jail that he's being held at is actually connected to the courthouse. It is underneath the courthouse and holds 37 inmates. The jail has increased their security. They are probably not going to put him in with the general population, and they are going to accommodate his vegan diet. The probable cause affidavit that we're all waiting for will probably be released tomorrow. His public defender, Ann Taylor, already has the defense underway. They've sent over investigators to the property yesterday and today to start gathering evidence. His attorney has also been successful at overcoming a murder charge before. It's also likely that his attorney already has that affidavit, which is probably the reason for the gag order. Another thing that came out this evening that's been confirmed is that Ethan did have defensive wounds. And lastly, we've all been focused on this guy quite a bit, but let's try to remember these people. Each one of these people had their life ripped from them. Each of their families had their child, their sibling, ripped from them. Remember them as well as all this is happening.